Hello, and welcome to QuickScope, a series of short, sweet videos focused on exactly one mechanic in exactly one game. In this series, we'll turn over the mossy rocks of game design, pick up the worms underneath and take a good, long smell, the fragrance of their slender bodies filling our minds with forbidden knowledge. Who's at the door? Video games. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is like going to the edutainment emporium to buy a video game, and finding sitting upon the shelf a much smaller, perfectly replicated edutainment emporium full of tiny, fully featured replica video games. It features multiple mechanics, each of which could form the basis of its own full game, realized elegantly in a textured, crafted space. It consistently rewards your curiosity, your ingenuity, and even at times your outright refusal to play it. But in a game absolutely stacked with fantastic mechanics, decisions, and locations, the thing I keep coming back for is how it feels simply to move through as a space. It's long been my policy to avoid fast travelling in games as much as I can, because I want to see the world that the development team spent years of their lives and millions of dollars making. Yet time and time again, this outlook is punished by world designs that feel as though they were never made to be navigated, never to be seen by human eyes like this. These games practically fall over themselves to get you to skip past these great expanses, sometimes the very same ones they're printing on the side of the box to sell the game. And when you actually do take the road fast travelled, you see the game with its proverbial trousers down. Hills, peaks, and valleys that don't make sense, or worse yet, inspire no reaction at all. You can see the mountain, and you can indeed go there. Sometimes. But the crucial "why would you want to" seems secondary, sometimes entirely absent. Breath of the Wild avoids this by making navigation its own intrinsically satisfying loop. Climbing a mountain is, instantly, a subgame. To scale a rock face, you must manage your stamina in a series of climbs, grips, and vaults, with generous footholds allowing you to always keep an eye open for somewhere to stand and catch your breath for just a little bit. Push your luck just a little more. Being able to spend your stamina in chunks to vault up in great bounds lets you decide whether you want to go as far as you can or as fast as you can. And even if you've only got a sliver of breath left in your body, you can bet it all in one last leap, complete with a unique, hand outstretched in panic animation. Climbing is always a micro-narrative, but in Breath of the Wild it's a micro-narrative with stakes. Because in this game, getting up there is so often a fantastic payoff. To say nothing of the sheer concentration of actual tangible things to be found up hills in this game, or the incredible views and vistas that these vantage points give you, it taps mechanically into the platonic ideal of climbing up a hill just to see what's there. Because altitude in Breath of the Wild is a palpable, tangible reward. The inevitable reality of climbing a hill in most games is getting a clear look at where you're going next and then having to walk painstakingly back down the other side. The grim spectre of fall damage robbing you of even the satisfaction of having gravity on your side. In Breath of the Wild, you can... In Breath of the Wild, you can see the whole landscape in front of you, and if anything catches your eye, you can just glide there, drinking deeply of your surroundings and reflecting on the tiny journey you've just had, maybe contemplating where exactly you'll land or seeing something new to pursue. And then, like an alcoholic Sisyphus, you'll set off climbing again, yearning only for the next sticky pint. You climb, you vault, you gamble, you triumph, you bask, you plan, you glide, you repeat, you play. It's an exquisite loop, and it gives the game a flow that allows you to slide right in, brings your mind into the space and helps you exist there. And the very best thing about Breath of the Wild, breaks it completely. The best thing about The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is that it rains. And not just that it rains, but very much the way in which it rains. Rain in video games is certainly nothing new, and particularly open-world games are no strangers to a little bit of atmospheric razzle-dazzle, with some games even integrating weather patterns into their mechanical loop to jazz up an encounter. But what makes the rain in Breath of the Wild stand out is that, in addition to being a treat both visually and audibly, it sucks! In Metal Gear Solid 5, the weather plays perfectly into what you're trying to achieve, with the sandstorms in Afghanistan and the rains in the Angola-Zaire border region reducing visibility and creating ambient noise that lend themselves perfectly to stealth, amplifying your existing toolset. They turn the physical reality of varying weather patterns into an engaging, rare event within the context of the game, within the context of the tools you've been given to explore this world. This integrates you with the environment. It gets you invested in the place you're playing in. It helps you start to live in that world. In Breath of the Wild, rain is the absolute worst. The challenging, goading cliff faces become rain-slicked, hostile monoliths. barriers to your traversal where once they represented an opportunity for fun. Climbing just doesn't work when it's raining. Your upward climb is constantly interrupted by a slip and a slide that drains your stamina, such that gains on most surfaces are completely impossible. I know you, you're smart. You've got a lot of stamina. You're going to try and use your vault to rush your way up the cliff before the slide kicks in. Ha! Vaulting immediately triggers the slide, such that you lose the stamina from the leap and the stamina from the slide. You can't rush up a wet wall, it's wet. You'll slip more easily, you goof. The rain in Breath of the Wild breaks your tools. In this game, the weather changes and you grimace because fundamental parts of your experience just stop working. The rain in Breath of the Wild actively alienates you from the space, and it rules. Because have you ever been outside when it starts raining? I don't mean like had a cathartic storybook experience where it's pouring down outside and you rush out and get soaked, feel it wash over your soul and cleanse you of your troubles before coming back in, having a towel down and posting about it online. I mean, have you ever had it start raining without warning? Have you ever been trying to do something when it starts raining? It's awful. The whole dynamic changes. If you had plans, cancel them. You're probably wearing the wrong clothes, and knowing you, you've definitely forgotten an umbrella. This is what rain is like. This is what weather is like. We've done our best to build our society around it, but the fact of the matter is that the roaring and rumbling of the lower atmosphere is just so much bigger than us. If the weather decides this is how your day is going to go, that's how your day is going to go. You just have to live with it. Weather is a global environmental system that operates on a scale that does not and cannot consider you. Rain does not enhance your capabilities. It's rarely an opportunity to sneak up on your enemies and shroud your friends. Rain reminds you that the world in which you live is a hostile environment that is, at best, totally indifferent to you. And this is my favourite thing about Breath of the Wild. By breaking its most satisfying loop, by selectively hamstringing the navigation that makes it such a joy to play, the game challenges your assumption that you, the player, are primary in its world. This is something that we seek out in tiny ways all over video games. From attacks with hefty startup animations, to movements that don't map perfectly to player inputs, to the handful of frames that Mario skids when you let go of forward on the controller. These are all mechanical assertions of the game's interpretation of events over the players. It makes the game less like a performance or product and much more like a conversation. As systems get ever more complex, we delight in the ways in which the game lets it happen, moments where we master the rules of the space rather than the rules of the game, and as our reward, the game permits us to refuse to play it. Breath of the Wild asserts, confidently, that sometimes the game does not have to let you play it.